This historical legacy for children of color really emerged in the late 80s and 90s under the notion created by a professor from Princeton University whose name was John DiIulio. And what he said is that there would be a coming tsunami, a wave he called it, of godless young people with no emotion and no remorse that were gonna take over, and that we preventatively needed to create laws and build the institutions so that we could prevent this crime wave from coming. And that he named as juvenile super predators.
That ours is a justice system that harms people who harm people to show that harming people is wrong. And so our system just replicates that harm.
Most often, if a young person does something wrong, instead of helping them to repair the harm, it's mostly focusing on how much punishment we need to give that young person in order for them to learn from their mistake. Most often it doesn't teach them anything, it's just all about power and control.
All of us respectively got picked up from our schools, and we were brought to a police station, and they separated us. We were about 13 years old, and they interrogated us all separately. And what ended up from all of it is Malik confessed to a crime he didn't commit and was sent to a juvenile detention center. And we didn't see Malik for almost a year. And then he came back, and at this point, I'm just getting started with circles, and I invite him to the circles, and he comes about twice. The day after circles, one night he's out with his friends, he gets in an altercation, it leads to somebody dying, and he's now facing over 90 years in prison at 17 years old.
I don't want to walk by that cell and say, oh, there's a 14-year-old kid, stripped and isolated in a cell. This adversarial relationship that we have in the criminal justice system here in the United States sets up a theater, if you will. I'm biased. For the courts to play out this good guy, bad guy, someone who wins, someone loses, justice is served because somebody went to jail or got punished. That serves the courts perhaps, but it really doesn't serve the community or the people involved.
It is a part of our societal DNA. It's an impulse that we have that we want to use incarceration as the primary instrument of social control.
Being locked up is all about disconnection. We found that the more that we suspended, the more that we gave these young people opportunities to be put out of school, the angrier they were. The more disconnected they were from school, the more disconnected they were from their academics, the more disconnected they were emotionally.
We're looking at the whole spectrum. We're looking at what are some of the things that we can do to promote no entry, how to keep people out of the system. We're looking at what happens with the system itself, so that is it promoting fair and equitable access to justice? What's happening as people go through the court system? What's happening as they are detained in our jails? Are we detaining people that don't need to be detained? And then we're also looking at what happens on the latter end of this process. What happens when they come out? And how do people reconnect to their communities? And how do people have opportunities and are not sort of they're not continuing to face the barriers that come from either a criminal record or from just knowing that they've been arrested and detained and all of the things that come with that. We need to figure out a better way to help them to find their space in the community, to get the help that they need, the support that they need, the accompaniment that they need to continue on this journey, and to recognize that we're all connected, and that's what happens when we think about the community-based harm.
There's this hunger for connection. All around us, communities are in shambles, families are in shambles, churches are in shambles. There is no communion, and people yearn for it and are hungry for it. And restorative justice is sating that hunger. It's addressing that hunger. Right? So I think it's going to continue to grow very rapidly.